Into Mornings with Loretta. I'm excited about today's topic. We spent a lot of time talking about happy things that lead to happy things, but sometimes I like to slow it down and make sure that I am advocating and creating awareness for those things that a lot of families are going through. So, March is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and we have Dr. McFadden and a survivor, Amishi Shah, with us today talking about colorectal cancer and awareness. So, welcome to Mornings with Loretta. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having us.
Okay, there's a delay, but we're going to
Yes.
work through it. It is storming here where I am. So why should people take colorectal cancer screening and prevention seriously? Because when we talk about that, people are not just signing up for it, not knowing it can potentially save their lives. So, Dr. McFadden, I'll start with you.
Yes, it can absolutely save your life. I mean, this is a cancer that can affect any of us at any age. People used to think of this as a cancer that affects older people. And in reality, we're seeing more younger people diagnosed. In fact, by 2030, it's estimated that it's going to be the leading cause of cancer deaths in those that are young. And so this can affect any of us. And so it's important that we get the word out that this is also a preventable cancer. Which is why we advocate for screening. We've partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance to get people to go to getscreened.org to find out not only when they should be screened, but how often that screening should happen, and look at all the options that they have to choose from to get screened.
Oh, that's some good advice. So tell me this. Because again, people are afraid or they have a lot of anxiety about this. So, are there symptoms that we should be looking for in order to make us say, yeah, we got to get this checked out?
Yeah, so there are definitely some symptoms that you should look out for, and you should also not ignore, right, and disregard. That includes things like rectal bleeding, changes in your bowel habits, belly pain, changes in your weight that you can't explain. Sometimes people say, hey, you've lost weight, and you're like, I wasn't even trying to lose weight. That could be something to pay attention for, or just overall fatigue or tiredness. But the tricky thing about colorectal cancer is it can be a silent killer, right? So you don't always have any of these symptoms present, which is why we don't want people to wait until they have these signs or symptoms when the cancer could be more advanced and harder to treat. We want people to get screened before that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please, let's normalize this. Let's normalize making this happen. So I want to talk to Amishi.
Absolutely.
She'll have to tell me the correct pronunciation, but I want to hear her story about her diagnosis.
Hi, Loretta. When I was in my mid-40s, I was too busy to schedule appointments and checkups with my doctor. I was busy living life, and I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. And in my late 40s, I started noticing some blood in my stool, which I still ignored for a few months. And finally, I went to my family doctor. She did a FIT test, and it came back positive for blood in my stool. And then I was referred to another doctor who did my screening colonoscopy. And I was shocked when I found out that I had stage 3B rectal cancer. Very shocked. I had no family history. And I was quickly treated with chemotherapy, radiation, and a couple of surgeries. I lost 2 body parts, and now I live with those consequences. I dearly wish that I would have gotten screened in my mid-40s. So I am here to raise awareness, tell you my story, and go to getscreened.org so you can learn more about the screening process.
Wow, you are definitely going to help and potentially save so many lives just by sharing your story. So how did your diagnosis make you decide? What was it about it that you said, I gotta become an advocate for this?
Very, very simply, screening can save your life. That is my message. And this 91% of patients can survive this cancer if it's caught early. However, I was part of that 80% of people in the 45 to 49 age group who don't get screened. I didn't get screened at the right time, so we caught it late. And so now I am here to tell everyone, go get screened early. It can save your life. It really can.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring Dr. McFadden back in so he can give us the medical professional side, because I tell people all the time, I know a lot, but by no stretch of the imagination am I even qualified to advise anybody when it comes to their physical or mental health. So I did notice, Dr. McFadden, that the suggested age for screening went from 50 to 45. Can you tell us why that happened?
Well, we were frankly seeing more young people coming into our office having cancer. And not only just having cancer, they were having advanced stages. So people in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And we realized that waiting until 50 was probably not the right thing to do. So a lot of work went into this. And probably in 2017, the United States Preventive Task Force, they changed the recommendations to begin screening at 45. But we should also mention that if you have a family history of colorectal cancers or polyps, that you probably need to be screened 10 years before that family member was diagnosed with that cancer. So that could change the age. And additionally, regardless of your age, if you're having symptoms, you also need to be tested.
Whew, I have so many questions. One is, we hear a lot, I've heard a lot of survivors say that they have blood in their stool. Is that just a true indication that you may have cancer? Could it be something else? I want people to be alarmed enough to go and get the screening, but I don't want them to say, I have it and I'm not going because it's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So is there something else that could cause bleeding?
Absolutely. So bleeding is one of the signs or symptoms of colorectal cancer, but there are other things that can cause that bleeding. And most commonly, we see people that come in that either have like hemorrhoids. That's very common. And even though it's common to have bleeding, it's not normal. So it needs to be evaluated by a doctor and it needs to be treated. And if, despite that treatment, if it's continuing, that's when we talk about, hey, we got to make sure we're not missing anything. It's like having, a headache. There can be a number of things that can lead to headache. It's not always stress. It could be dehydration. So bleeding itself isn't the only cause, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have cancer, but it does mean that you need to talk with your doctor to make sure there's not anything else going on.
Oh, great answer. And I want people to understand, if nothing else, there is blood, right? There is blood. There is a reason for there being blood, and that is not normal. So I want to ask Amishi, please tell me how to pronounce your name correctly. How many people to date do you know? Because I'm sure there are thousands and thousands of others that you will never know how you influence them. But is there some kind of way you have measured that you've helped these many people go and get their screening?
Loretta, you pronounced my name correctly. It's Amishi. And, I have become a very vocal proponent of screening. So I've been sharing on social media. I want everyone to know what I'm going through and really talking about the importance of screening. And while I did that, I knew that was a smaller circle. I want it to be more influential. So I partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance so I could share my story and get the word out. Screening is so important. It can save your life. And getscreen.org is a great resource, as well as colorectalcancer.org, which has patient and caregiver resources as well.
Okay, it is thundering here, so I had a delay myself. So I want to ask Dr. McFadden one last question. You already answered one, Amishi, where we can go for more information. But Dr. McFadden, can you answer this question? And I said it wouldn't lead to a happy, but it definitely is leading to a happy because there's awareness and people are getting information. So is it preventable? How preventable is colon cancer? And are colon cancer and colorectal cancer the same, just different people saying it a different way?
So colorectal cancer is a cancer of the large intestine, and the colon and the rectum are the two largest parts of the large intestine. So collectively, you can have colorectal cancer, but it depends on the location over the large intestine to tell us particularly, is it in the colon or is it in the rectum? The rectum is probably the last 1.5 feet or so of the large intestine. So it just depends on which part of the large intestines the cancer is caught. Now, one of the reasons why I went into colorectal surgery is because out of all the cancers, it's a particularly hopeful cancer, right? If you find it sooner, she mentioned that greater than 90% survival when it's caught early. So there's the happy there. There's the hope. I want to leave him with hope. It is quite preventable if we get to these polyps that can become cancerous. If we can remove these polyps with the colonoscopy, you can prevent cancer. There's the hope. So we just got to get people to get the screening, to get the test. So go to getscreened.org to get more information.
Wow. I'm so glad we had this time this morning to share this information, because I know people that are watching, don't be afraid. If nothing else, don't be afraid to go get the screening. Do not let fear stop you from getting the screening, even if there are no symptoms. If you are age 45, or even if you say, I want to go get mine done, start that process, go do it now. So Dr. McFadden and Amishi, thank you so much for being our guest on Mornings with Loretta. You have definitely upscaled my life, because I feel like I can really go and encourage not only myself and my family, but others to get those screenings, because I believe it can and will save lives. So thank you for the work you're doing. Amishi, thank you for your advocacy. I know that couldn't have been easy to make that big decision, but thank you for that.
Thanks, Loretta.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So they have to leave, but I want to make sure that you understand you can go and get your colorectal cancer screening, which is also would be screened for colon cancer. He told you they're so close together. You really do have to get the screening. And it may be just a little painful. I don't even think it's painful, because I think I remember my last one. I don't remember the pain of it, but I'm telling you, it was more painful even just thinking about having to go and do it. So please go do it. You can get more information on the website that they share, get awareness, and please, honey bunnies, get your screenings. All kinds of screening, prostate cancer screening, breast cancer screening, all the screenings you can get. I would highly recommend going to get those screenings. And until next time, think positive, dream big dreams, help someone along the way. And guess what? I'll see you soon, everybody.